supine resistance band abduction. So this is very similar to like a seated lateral raise, and the idea is that we're trying to train our deltoid muscles, or this big muscle that's on the side and the front and the back of our shoulder. That's what we call the deltoid muscle. So we like to use the ground so we can give ourselves some feedback so we know where our trunk's at in space, to make sure we're not overarching our low back and we're not doing any sort of weird rotation, so we can really drive the motion in that shoulder. And also being mindful of your neck positioning. When you're on your back, make sure you're not leveraging your head into the floor. Make sure you're not overarching your back. So how we like to set it up is we take the resistance band, we wrap it around 1 foot, and then we use our opposite foot as kind of like a pivot point. So my right foot would be my anchor point, my left foot is kind of my pivot point. Now when I'm going through that lateral raise, it's going to be hard to tell on the camera angle, but I'm going to stop when my hand is about the same height as my shoulder when I'm on my back. If both legs are all the way straight, that's going to be maximal resistance on the band. So let's talk about ways that we can scale the resistance on the band. If both legs are bent, that's going to be the easiest, but I'm only going to have the max amount of resistance at the top. It's hard to create a lot of resistance at the bottom with this regardless, because we're using a resistance band. If both legs are all the way straight, that's going to be even more resistance. And if I wanted the most amount of resistance with this band, I could actually hold the band with my opposite hand, lay on my back, and then go, and that's going to have a ton of resistance. Due to the thickness of this band, I'm not really able to move through range of motion with that, so I'm going to anchor it to my foot. So on my back, band anchored around my foot. My low back is arched just slightly, but I'm not overarching my back. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just driving my arm along the surface of the floor here, and I'm going to stop when my hand gets about shoulder height, and I'm going to come back down. If that's too much resistance, I can just simply bend my knees, and then there's a lot less resistance going through that resistance band. And you can kind of keep playing with that setup and scooting your feet back until you find the right spot. But if you come up too far with your feet, there's very minimal resistance in the bottom half of the range of motion. So try to find a spot where you can get a resistance throughout the entire range of motion. If that means you need to go to a lighter band, go to a lighter band. Make sure that you're breathing throughout the entire duration of the movement. Big breath in at the bottom, come all the way to the top, blow your air out. Try to sync up the breathing to the arm motion.